I'm a Singaporean. I have been in Indonesia now for 30 years, working as an engineer from Aceh all the way to Kalimantan. I have seen Indonesia from the inside. I saw the potential, but at the same time, I saw the gaps in Indonesia, the gaps in education. And I come from a poor family, a humble family. My dad is a satpam, and for him, education is very important. So he said, I was in the mining sector, and he wasn't impressed by all the money I brought back from mining. So he said, whatever we do, please try to get involved in education. Because he sacrificed his life to raise 3 kids in Singapore. He did 2 jobs, siang dan malam. And so given what I have seen in Indonesia, given my background, what drives me is this: quality education must be made accessible to as many income levels as possible. That drives me. And how do I do it? What is my model? My model must have 3 things. Firstly, it must be impactful. Now, impact has to be measured. That's important. Number 2, it has to be financially sustainable and scalable. Right? And number 3, it has to provide employment, meaningful employment to Indonesians, to teachers. Now, education industry, and I will say this bluntly, and some people will disagree. For me, the education industry is broken. You have to find ideas outside the education industry. So I bring ideas, corporate principles, ideas from other industries, best practices. So those are my ideas. And how do I grow my school? The most expensive school where my children used to go to was at $25,000 US in Indonesia. $25,000 US per child per year. Not SIS, right? Good school. Great facilities. But how many people can afford that school? So I decided to half it to $15,000 US per year. I started SIS over here, Lebak Bulus. But you know, 15,000 is also expensive. So I decided to half 15 to 7,500. And I opened a few in Jakarta. And people ask me, hey, great schools, can you open more? I said, no, I'm going to half 7,500 to around $3,000, $4,000. And I opened schools in Medan, in Semarang. And then people said, can you open more of these schools? I said, no, I'm going to half that. So I brought it down to only $2,000 in Palembang. So we use, in all of these schools, despite the different price, we use 3 of the world's best curriculum: Singapore, Cambridge, and the International Baccalaureate. That's our strength. That's the model. The perception out there is the cheaper the school, the poorer the quality. The poorer the quality. You're wrong. It cannot be like that. My best friend in the World Bank said to me, the best school that he saw in the world was under a tree in Africa. So you know what it means? It's the teacher. Now when you reduce the price, 2 things happen. Teacher nationality changes and the infrastructure changes. For example, if it's an expensive school, maybe they will have swimming pools and auditorium. If I start bringing the price down, I have to think about land, building, the kind of teachers. But we just don't bring price down. We allow the schools to network. The problem here is when you start bringing price down and you say, I'm going to make that budget school operates in isolation. That's the problem in Indonesia. A lot of the schools operate in isolation. Where are they going to get pedagogical ideas? Where are they going to get exposure to different sort of thinking? In SIS, all the schools collaborate with each other. They share, they meet. For example, all my principals, they meet every 2 months, they all fly down and they share. My head of departments fly down and they share. And the cheaper school, Palembang, that principal, she also chairs the meeting. And I think that's the way education should go. Schools working and collaborating with each other. And we can, because it's all under the SIS umbrella. And I think that's the way to go. So you see some of these schools, okay, first of all, there's this problem of perception in Indonesia. A good school must have Western teachers. You know, sekolah ini 25.000, kok mana gurunya dari Amerika or dari mana? Why? There are good teachers in Indonesia, right? So when we bring the price down, we hunt for these great teachers. And I've traveled all over Indonesia. There are great teachers. They need to be trained. They need to be exposed. See, the problem in Indonesia is we have a lot of teachers here. In fact, I hear that a lot of universities are producing a lot of teachers. But the problem here is student outcomes. That's not happening here. Now, I love this country. And I can tell you, I've traveled from Aceh, Kalimantan, Medan, jadi ya punya hak lah ngomong, ya kan, ceplos gitu kan. So my view is this, in Indonesia, yang kurangnya exposure. The teachers in the region, if I show them, their minds open and they're passionate. But you can't show them once, you have to keep showing them a few times, they keep collaborating, and that's the strength of the system. And you know my Palembang school, which is only $2,000, it has produced some wonderful students over there. That means what? Indonesia bisa kok. Bisa.
Hi, my name is Yosi Rosalina. I'm the mother of Kay Zachary Pinatar. You know, the specials about SIS Semarang is all the teachers keep on track about each of the students' uniqueness. They're not trying to form their students into some kind of stereotype. But this is not also only about learning academically, but also building his character. The other thing that makes me happy every day is knowing that my son is going to a very safe place and environment, because I believe that every child is unique, special, and has their own characteristics.
Before we start a school, we decide which city we want to go to, and then we do an in-depth study of that city. We look at the purchasing power, we look at what parents want, what kind of curriculum do they want, and then we match what parents can pay with the kind of teachers that I can hire, and then we look at, remember this whole thing has to be sustainable, right? So we look at working with real estate players, we see how can we work with landowners, because a school brings high value to a real estate. When I put an SIS school in a real estate, I'm told all the real estate prices go up, all the housing goes up. So we bring a lot of value. So we want to work with real estate developers in Kalimantan, in Bandung, to say we'll put an SIS there. So it depends on the purchasing power, and then we work backwards. Okay, how much they can pay, what's the market, and then we work the financial model around that. Just wanted to share something with you. Palembang is the second most populous city in Sumatra. Okay? My Medan school is about $4,500. My Palembang is $2,000. And I'm the most expensive school in Palembang. So what does it tell you? It tells you outside Jakarta and Surabaya, the purchasing power in education drops. So I cannot put expensive schools in the region. It doesn't make sense. People can't afford. So I have to find a new model to see how I can bring prices down. And we work with IFC, the World Bank, to see how we can do this. Okay, so this was way back in 2004, when I wanted to come up with different price points. The local banks were not really helping. They wanted guarantee, they wanted collateral. So if you want a collateral, means I have to buy land. If I buy land, I'm already down $2 million. Then I put a building, I'm down another $2 million, so it doesn't work. So IFC, when I approached them, they came and they asked me, what is your concept? What are you looking at? And I showed them that I'm going to halve the price. So they said, okay, but hang on, you're a foreigner, operating in Indonesia, informal education, and you're going to do school in the provinces. Tunggu dulu dong, he said. So they sent their consultants, they spent 2 years. It took me 2 years to get IFC to win over. So they sent the people, I had lots of visitors, they wanted to make sure that best practices, when you take money from development bank, best practices. They wanted to make sure the curriculum was right. They wanted to make sure that I had impact. And it's been a great relationship. I've been a client of IFC now, what is it now, 2020 now, almost 15, 16 years. And they take me around the world. Every IFC conference, I'm there talking about Indonesia and the opportunity and trying to draw investments in this country in education. Oh, so the award is interesting. So that's how I got IFC to fund me. Remember, I'm getting funds from IFC, soft loans, okay? But the award is totally different. The award is by Financial Times. Financial Times and IFC World Bank jointly formed this award called the Transformational Award. What is this award about? It is about enterprises in the world, not Indonesia, in the world, whose work helps achieve the United Nations Sustainable Goals. Okay? And you know the United Nations Sustainable Goals, you have education, you have health, you have fintech, you have all these various industries. So we were invited to put our name up. I was hesitant because it's Financial Times. I know there'll be a lot of questions. So it took me a month to think about it. And then when I looked at the website, I said, hey, I do all these things. So I got excited and I started answering all the questions. And the next 2 months, my life turned upside down because the panel asked me this question and that question and this. And it was a great question. It was not about making money. It was about impact. They wanted to know the impact. How can we bring prices down and maintain quality? That's what we got the award for. It's called vertical collaboration. You see, when schools collaborate horizontally, it's the same ideas. When schools collaborate vertically up, your ideas open. So 6 educational institutions went into the final. Indonesia, we were the only one. And we won. And my life has changed after the award. I've been asked to speak in a lot of impact investment conferences. People ask me about Indonesia. They'll say, oh, can you tell me about Indonesia? It's a good place to invest. I'm always flying the Indonesian flag, telling people to come and invest. And because of the award now, we've got opportunities. People want us to help them run schools in Africa and China and different places.